Welcome to Heal by Grace, Mississippi. I'm your host, Keyuna Faye Webster, Empowerment for the Powerless. We all know it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, as well as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we will have a special guest, a breast cancer survivor, coming on at 8 p.m. I'm going to introduce everybody in a minute. As soon as they're ready to come join me on the couch. So welcome. So before COVID happened, Heal by Grace is a multi-city tour that was created to raise awareness on a lot of different issues that our communities go through, suffer from, end up having trauma from. So I put together a panel of subject matter experts on a lot of different things. A lot of those things I've dealt with myself personally. Suicide, domestic violence, sexual abuse. I had a recovering addict at the drug addiction person at the last one because I dealt with that as well, having a mother who was a recovering addict, if that's the correct word. I don't know the proper word to say for drug abuse, substance abuse. Recovering addict. That's right. Okay, because I don't want to be disrespectful. But yeah, so Mississippi was my next stop. I was trying to get some things together around November. That did not happen. And I had to do another one here in Atlanta in December. Went over into the new year. COVID happened around March. So we couldn't go outside. I lost my mother in May. So I really took a backseat to everything. So with everything that's going on, I've been in the grieving process, home, in bed, scrolling, looking. So I see everything that's going on. I'm fully aware. I felt it was necessary to go ahead and at least do a virtual version of Heal by Grace for Mississippi. Born and raised Mississippi. I'm from Florida, Mississippi. Proud to be a Florida native. But when I look back, I was talking to my cousin a few days ago, and I was like, I said, I scream Florida, and I love my city because that's where I'm from. That's home. But when I look back, I think about where I come from. That city caused me a lot of pain. I went through the most pain in the city where I'm from. So I really wish we could have went outside. I would have loved to have come home, which I was just there because I lost my grandmother as well last month. But getting together gatherings right now is just not ideal. Not what we want to do. So, so let's talk about some of those things. I normally just focus on domestic violence. LoveYuna Outreach is a nonprofit for individuals and families affected by domestic violence. I always pass sexual abuse off. I really don't ever, talk about sexual abuse myself. Hey, Tanika. How you doing? Congratulations. I've been intending to text you. So it's time. I was sexually abused around 25 and 6 years old. My friend told me the other day, she said, I didn't even know you were molested. I said, yeah. I didn't really talk about it. My family knew, but I never really talked about it because, of who it was, I guess. He was not a relative to me. So I just kind of just held on to it. He was my brother's father. So out of the love and respect for my brother, I kind of just didn't disclose that. I think his real name is Curly Braden, known as Boosie, in Florida, Mississippi. He died August 4th, 2018. So I held that in out of love and respect for my brother. I forgave him a long time ago and moved on with my life. I had a praying grandmother. And so forgiveness is everything. You learn to forgive, it frees you. You don't, because a lot of us are sitting around hurt and going through things because of the things that someone else did to us. And what my grandmother told me was, them people going on with their life, enjoying life, and you somewhere can't even enjoy your life. My mother went down that road. Most people know that I was raised by my grandmother. Wow, I was 30 before I could even say what I'm about to say now. But my grandmother that raised me, 3010 Center Street, shout out Florida, Mississippi, was not my biological grandmother. She was my biological grandmother's first cousin. She raised her first cousin's kids. But because my biological grandmother went down that road of drug addiction and, God knows whatever else, out of her 4 girls, my mother was the one that went down that road as well. I remember my mama telling me the first guy that ever told her that he loved her introduced her to crack cocaine. So we have to look at things when we're dealing with people, So that was the start of her going down but I knew my mother's story. Let me say that. My mother was also sexually abused as a child at the same age I was. I told my mom what happened to me, and she didn't believe me. I had to be about 5. But when I look back, I think about my mother had me when she was 16. So at this point, I'm talking to a 21-year-old who's in love or thinks she's in love. So my grandmother raised me to love my mother, even though it was a time came when my mother had to, she had to step away and relieve herself of her, parental duties because she was unable to give us the love that we deserve. And so my grandmother stood in the gap. So that's kind of a little backstory on why I talk about my grandmother a lot. But nevertheless, love my mother as much as anyone else could love their mom. Whether she was there the whole time or not. And losing her in May was hard. It took a lot for me to get up here and get on this camera today. But I have to continue. I have to continue on the journey. God gave me a calling, and that's what I have to do. It's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So I want to introduce my guests that are here with me. And then we're gonna start talking. Okay? So my lovely assistant want to come first. It's Jade Baker. So hey to Jade, introduce yourself.
Hi. So my name is Jade Baker. I am concierge extraordinaire to Keyuna Faye Webster. I'm also a realtor. I love serving people, so every capacity I find to serve people, that's where I am. That's who I am. That's what I do. Anybody know me know that I bring joy, I bring happiness, I bring absolute unconditional love to every situation that I'm in. I love this lady to life, and I salute you for getting up and showing up, because we know that you got a lot going on. And there's a lot of things that you've experienced, but you took the time to get up and make a difference for us. So thank you.
You're welcome. Have my good friend also in the house with me today, Miss Rhonda Anita. She's a voice for the voiceless. Her and I both share the platform on domestic violence, but her and I both have also been through a whole lot of other things. And there's a very particular reason why I really wanted my friend here with me today. So Rhonda Anita, without further ado, let me let her introduce herself.
I need some camera time.
There you go. Let me give you some camera. Let me give you some camera time. There you go.
Hi, everybody. I am Rhonda Anita, CEO and founder of Rose of Sharon Transitional Living for Women, and very dear friend and sister to Miss Webster. I have overcome domestic violence, sexual assault, 3 suicide attempts. I was part of, I say, the sex trade, and we can probably talk about that a little later, back in the day. So I am grateful to be alive. I am a ordained minister. I am a 2-time international bestseller. I am a John Lewis ambassador from 2019. So a lot of great things happening in my life, and I'm an overcomer of a lot of not so good things. So I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. Okay, so we're going to jump back into the conversation about sexual abuse. Sexual abuse and child molestation is, oh my God. Go back over there. No, stay here with me. Has happened to the best of us. And, you know, childhood trauma, I cannot stress it enough. Childhood trauma can and will make or break a person. It'll either make you or it'll break you. You'll end up using that, turning that pain into power and elevating, or you'll either go down that dark rabbit hole. So, for me, it didn't bother me for a long time. And I used to think that something was wrong, but I had to understand that, like I said, my grandmother, I had a praying grandmother, and she stood in the gap for me. Give me a name. She stood in the gap for me, whereas she ended up bringing me in and giving me the love that I needed and teaching me forgiveness, teaching me, you know, the things that I need to know. She didn't send me to church. She took me to church.
Amen.
So I accepted Christ at a very early age, 11 years old. And it wasn't because she said, you're going to get baptized today. What she told me when I was probably around 8, she told me that when you ready, me and my cousin, she said, when y'all ready, you'll get up and you'll go down for yourself. So I don't know what happened in that church that night, but it was revival. I remember that. Around September 1990. Yeah, I was 11. I got up and you know, I went down. You know, I was moved. So I did it on my own. It wasn't anything that was forced. And I'm just grateful that I had that love to help me get through something so traumatic as, you know, somebody trying to penetrate a 5-year-old. Let's just, you know, it's sexual abuse, child molestation, and it happened to me. And, you know, as I was thinking about it and talking to my cousin last week, I was like, you know, I don't even know if his family ever knew, you know, what he did to me. Because I was in such a good place. It just didn't bother me every day. But there are other people that this type of thing bothers every day. Like, they can't shake it. They can't. It's tormenting to them. Now, I will say that I remember being married, and I had just had my 3rd child. So I was around 28, 29. And we were watching TV, and this guy was getting ready to rape this little girl. And I lost it because I was telling my husband to turn the TV off, and he wouldn't turn it off. Like, I just wanted to stop it. I didn't want to see that. And I called my best friend, Angela Burns. I lost her in 2016. But I called her, and we sat outside in the car, and I was like, it's like I've gotten older, and now it's starting to bother me. And, you know, I cried about it. And since then, you know, I just, you know, she talked to me. She was like, Keyuna, you know, the things that your grandmother taught you, you know, you're going to be fine. It was just a moment, you know, like I relived it in that moment just from a scene on TV. But for me, in learning and seeing some of the things that I've seen and heard in the last month or so, made me look at my situation like this man was not my father. He was in no relation to me. He should have been a better person, you know, not a pedophile. Because he was a grown man. He was older than my mother. But he didn't have to care about me. He didn't have to love me. He didn't have, you know, he just didn't. He should have as a man, but he didn't have to. He had no obligations to me to protect me, keep me safe, or any of that. You know, quite honestly, my mother shouldn't have left me home with him. But again, you're talking about a 21-year-old who has been through this and is already on her way down the same road that her biological mother went. Due to her own pain, she couldn't get past it. So what I realized is that my pain is a little different from somebody else. And so I'm going to let my friend, Miss Rhonda Anita, talk a little bit about her sexual abuse. Even though we've gone through the same thing, and I remember when we met, we talked a little bit about it. And when you said that to me, I was like, wow. Like, man, like, oh no. You know, it made me think, like, I really didn't, you know, he didn't owe me anything. But your situation a little different. Tell them how.
So my father, let me come over here so I can. That's the thing, y'all. We got several cameras going.
Yeah,
we trying to get in all the frames. My father sexually abused me when I was, I can't really remember how old I was, between 5 and 7 years old. And it only happened one time. But that one time was something I will never forget, you know. Out of everything, and I say this all the time, out of everything that I've been through, that was the thing that tore my soul. Because your father is the one that is supposed to love you and show you what a man is supposed to be, how he's supposed to be. Now, my sister on my dad's side, of course, she got all that love because by that time he became a father to her, he was well. But at the time he was raising me, he was an alcoholic. I was going between my mother and my father's house, you know, on visitation. And one particular day, I'll never forget it. I walked in the house and just something felt awkward. It just felt like something very weird in the air. My dad was doing things prior to this occasion that was just things to hurt me, like switching my food. I didn't eat liver or meat at the time. Well, I ate meat, but I didn't eat liver. I'll never forget it. Yeah, it was disgusting. Ugh. I'll never forget it. He switched my plate. His wife made me a grilled cheese, and he just switched my plate and forced me to eat that. And I'm gagging. I knew one day I would never eat meat. I did eat meat, but it's always been a struggle for me. But he was doing things like that leading up to the offense that I just didn't understand. And when it happened, you know, as a little person, you're trying to figure out how to navigate this pain. So what do? You cover up. You have a shameful feeling on the inside. This camera can't see me. You have a you have this feeling of shame, like it was something you did. No, they can't see you here. You have this shameful feeling like there was something you did to cause this pain. And so you don't tell anybody. You don't quite know how to articulate it. So as I grew up, I started acting out. I became very promiscuous. By the time I was 13, I was borderline teenage alcoholic, just trying to mask the pain. And at the same time, my mother was physically abusing me. She was dealing with mental illness that had not been diagnosed yet. And so all this trauma. And it wasn't until 2016 when I wrote my first book, Don't Spill the Tea, One Woman's Journey from Abuse to Abundance. I found that as I was helping other people get out of abusive relationships, that there was still a mask that I was carrying, and people couldn't connect with me. They couldn't, they felt like I didn't understand their story because I wasn't sharing my own. And at that moment, I realized, you know what? I'm still masking. I'm still protecting him. I'm still protecting her. And I'm still hurting. I look good on the outside. Everything is well. I'm helping people. But inside, I didn't have the courage or the strength in my own voice. And it answered questions to why I continue to get in abusive relationships and toxic relationships, because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know my own value. As a child, my world was framed with hurt, pain. Your mother and father are the first people that tell you, who you are, yet I had no identity. So navigating this life, thank God I'd given my life to Christ early. So I did have a church family to, help show me how to be a woman. But I still didn't feel that they could understand my truth. So there was a mask there as well. By the time I shared with everybody, I went to my family and said, okay, I'm writing this book. I had just lost my dad, and I'm going to be telling some things that happened to me. This is my story. This is my truth. Like it or not, this is the journey God has me on. And I have to be authentic to the women that I serve. I can't tell them to find their voice and be strong, and yet I'm still ashamed. And so I went to my mom and I told her I'm writing this book. I went to my stepmom and told her I was writing this book. So thankfully, everybody was like, go ahead, go for it. Even my mother, who I lost a month after Keyuna's mother. And everybody supported me because they knew that it would help someone else. But it took a long time. We're talking 40-something years before I really felt the courage. Now, everybody's story is not going to be to say it publicly, to tell it publicly. Right. That may not be your plot in life. But I know that God had taken my pain and he's using it for purpose. Right. So even with, sometimes people feeling like they don't understand, the struggle or what I went through, I'm fine with that now because I realize that my story isn't for you. It's for the one who needs courage to speak up, who is afraid, who look at me the way I looked at everybody else, like everybody else had it together. Nobody will understand what I've been through. But the moment I started sharing my story, it did give people courage to share theirs. And again, even if they didn't say it in a public way, but they can acknowledge this happened to me, and now I understand it was not my fault. Right. So it's either going to come up now or it's going to come up later. But I tell you this, when you're masking that type of pain, we already see the remnants of it in your life. Why you keep finding yourself stuck and not able to get past a certain place in life, while your friendships and relationships continue to be a revolving door, and why you see the world one way and everybody else sees it another way. Unresolved trauma is the parasite that keeps us back from seeing our true potential and the freedom.
You better say that.
The freedom, and here's the thing. When I wrote the book and I went back and read the book, there was a whole nother, like, who is this? And then after that, and I'm telling my story, I got stronger and stronger and stronger. Forgiveness has always been there, but I wasn't able to really embrace my story out of shame, out of fear of making his family look bad or making my family look bad for, what my mom did to me. She was sick. He was sick. I forgave them. It's still my truth. It's still, it's how my brain was rewired. And, but yeah, finding that freedom to be able to say, this happened to me, I forgive them, and it wasn't my fault.
And that's the most important thing, is that it's not your fault. It's not your fault. When people do things, my grandmother told me something, how people treat you is a reflection of them. How you react to it is a reflection of you.
Say that again.
How people treat you is a reflection of them. How you react to it is a reflection of you.
My God.
But let me say this, and let me be clear when I say this. It's a lot of people that don't walk through pure hell in this life. For me, I was sexually abused. He tried to penetrate me. I still remember him trying to sit me on top of him. A 5-year-old in that position. Wow. Mercy. And it hurt. Thank God he didn't force it. But I had a praying grandmother. So, even though I went through that, and that's ugly, I still don't know my friend pain, because that's another level of pain. It's the same offense, but it's another level of pain. Like, this man didn't owe me nothing. We were in no blood relation to one another or anything. He didn't owe me anything. No obligation to protect me. But your father? So we don't get the right to tell people when to tell their story or how. We do not get that right. When a person finds their voice, they have the right to speak out when they want and how they want. Because we don't know how that pain affected them. Trauma affects everyone differently. So when a person is able to even come out and tell you, listen, this happened to me, you just gotta, applaud them for being able to even open their mouth to say this to you. Because a lot of people are stuck in bondage. And I tell you one thing, when you tell your story, it free you. I had a friend used to tell me, I tell all my business. I'm just an open book. I mean, I'm just going to tell you, because it doesn't, what good does it do me to try to fake it till I make it? Or no, I'm going to keep it 100. And that's just the type of person that I am. But even with you becoming an alcoholic as a teenager, I got drunk one time, y'all. One time.
She won't drink nothing, y'all.
Let me tell you.
No wine, no nothing.
Let me tell y'all. I got drunk one time. I had drunk everything that day. St. Ides, Mad Dog 2020, Sex on the Beach, Thunderbird.
Yeah, you wasn't.
Y'all, I had some the daiquiris, strawberry daiquiris.
In one day?
Only one day. I thought I was big and bad. I was gonna do this thing.
And that was the first time?
And it was the last. I don't know if it was my grandmother cussing me out the next day. My grandma could cuss like a sailor. And when you have company, she holler, "Oh, excuse me, baby," and be cussing in the next 2 minutes. But no, not this one. But so yeah, so it didn't work out for me. I said, you know what? Everything ain't for everybody, and that's just that. I don't like the way it make me feel, you know. So, and to think about it, my mother, and honestly, in my generation, a lot of us were raised by our grandmothers.
Yeah.
Because I came up in the era where between 88 and 90, crack cocaine hit the town. Mm-hmm. That was a powerful drug. Mm-hmm. And my mother ended up going down that road. I think I was 4 months from turning 9 years old when my mother left. She left in the summer of 1989. The spring of 89, because that was the last week that I had spent with her before she left. And my grandmother didn't explain to me, you know, why she left until I was probably about 12. And that was the same age that I found out that my grandmother wasn't my biological grandmother. And it, you know, it was just one of them things. It wasn't intentional. It came out, and I remember running in the house crying. And she said, "What's wrong with you?" And I looked at her and I said, "You not my real grandmama." And she looked at me and she said, "I was your grandmother yesterday. I'm your grandmother today. And I'll be your goddamn grandmother tomorrow." That changed my life. Because the level of love that lady gave me. I mean, think about it though. She was raising her first cousin's kids. And I was born. So quite naturally, I think that that's my grandmother. I'm not gonna know any different until 12 years old, and I find out. But you know, that's my grandmother. So yeah, so it was between her cussing me out and how sick I was, and I'm like, who wants to do this? I need to know what's going on. So I tell people now, I'm like, I don't do no drinking. And no drugging, because, I mean, you know, both of my parents ended up going down that road. But the party don't start till I get there. I'm the life of the party. But, you know, just being transparent and being open, you know, about your life and the things that you've gone through. Accountability is key. And, what time is it? 7:41. Okay. 8 o'clock. Accountability is key. You know, I went through things, bullying, you know, and I was bullied by adults too. Me too. It was adults told me I wasn't going to never be nothing. I was going to be just like my mother. It was adults that talked about my mama like a dog. She a crackhead. She a prostitute and all of that stuff. You know, this a grown person saying this stuff to me. A grown person challenging me. I bet you won't say this to me. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to take you home to your grandmother. And I stood right there and looked her dead in the face and called her a B. And I took off running. When she was challenging me, but she didn't know, you know, she didn't know my pain. She didn't know, you know, I was misunderstood. Yeah. So I had teachers even abuse me. The child abuse happened for me. It was the guys that my mother dated. The guy that sexually abused me, he didn't hit me. It was my other brother's dad who hit me. I walked in on them doing grown folk stuff. And I just needed to tell my mama something. And so, yeah, he beat me with an extension cord. And then I remember I had a teacher in 3rd grade. She's dead now. Her name was Miss Daughtery. I had on some overalls, and she snatched me across the desk. I was in front of her desk, and she grabbed me in my chest and snatched me up across the desk a little bit, off my feet. And she called me ugly. She broke me that day. Because for a long time, I didn't know how beautiful I was. I'm don't even try it today. But You know, so she broke me that day.
But you know what, Yana, even when you say she broke you that day, think about, like, historically, none of us are taught to love ourselves. My friend Dr. Lexi, my sister, if she's still on, she says this all the time. We weren't taught how to love ourselves. And then somebody, especially another female, come and tell
your
teacher. I mean, that had to have been crucial to your spirit.
Oh, it was. I'm a little girl. I'm in the 3rd grade. And so at this time, I still live with my mommy. And so I tell my mama. Now, my mama came to that school. I talked a lot. My mama was gone. She did get on drugs and was gone. But I was living with my mama when this happened. And my mama went to that school. And she took this guy that she was dating. I don't know why she took him. He wasn't my dad. But she took him. And she went to that school. And she got me transferred from Miss Daughtery's class to Miss Mortimer's class. What's her name? Miss Mortimer? Sure. Miss Mortimer. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I can't read the comments too far away. 2020 ain't working like it used to. But, so anybody remember me going from Miss Daughtery class to Miss Mortimer class in 3rd grade? That's what happened. And so I ended up, this man that she was dating, his name was Alan Jackson. This is the man that used to make me sit on the couch and watch him beat my mama bloody. So I witnessed domestic violence a long time ago. And somehow him and my mama got into an argument or something, and I lied. I was supposed to have lied on the teacher just to get transferred to another class to be with my friends and stuff like that. And contrary to popular belief, I really didn't have a lot of friends. I wasn't that well liked. So he took me and put my head between his legs and closed them as tight as he could, and he beat me with an extension cord. And I'm just like, my mama didn't do nothing. And so, but I mean, he probably would have beat her up. But the last time he beat my mama up, he collapsed both her ribs, and it was just bad. And I had to sit on the couch and watch this. So early on in my dating world, I was like, I would buck, like, don't even act like you finna try to hurt me. And then somewhere I changed from all that and ended up getting in an abusive relationship. So we're gonna talk about that part. So it's something I want y'all to really think about. Write it down if you have to. I was supposed to get a flashcard so y'all can spell it right. But it's called narcissistic abuse. Narcissistic abuse is 100% domestic violence. Narcissistic abuse is the epitome of domestic violence. It is a slowly dehumanizing, purposeful soul rape.
Wow.
And if you can spot the narcissist, you won't ever have to worry about being physically abused.
That's right.
Because you will cut it right then.
Because physical abuse don't just come out.
Oh no, it don't just come out. It don't just come out like that. They start with devaluing you, because all it is a person that has nothing on the inside of them. And so, but before I get into the narcissist, let me say this. I had to figure out why I kept choosing the narcissist. So I started studying. And I'm an empath with codependent issues. I had daddy issues. I don't have them now. I got my daddy. So I'm an empath. So you have an empath and you have a narcissist.
I'm an empath as well. Can you explain what an empath is?
Okay. An empath is someone who possesses a lot of empathy. You can call me and I'll stop doing what I'm doing to come and see about you. If you come here crying and you hurt, I'm crying too. I'm hurt. I'm ready to go get them. So it's just, you feel that energy and you always want to fix. And codependence, you're trying to fix. I remember when I got so behind in my stuff trying to help, do all of this. So, and they sniff us out in a room.
Yep.
So you got an empath and you have the narcissist. Now, the narcissist and the empath have one thing in common. They both have experienced childhood trauma. One chose to overcome and compensate for the greater good of humanity. when the narc decided to become cold and evil. And a lot of guys you meet, I tell people all the time, find out where he come from. Find out where he was born, who raised him. Because that's going to tell you a lot about what you need to know. Both of my situations, my abusers, you know what? Let me take. I realized I had 3 talking to my cousin last week. She reminded me that my first baby daddy tricked me to the top of the street and beat me up. Y'all know who he is. But I forgot about that, so I went looking for my diary. I got a diary from my childhood, and I found it.
Wow.
And I found the day that he did that to me. Wow. But anyway, but he was a narcissist too. Still is. Those three men, mommy issues. All 3 of them, mommy issues. Mommy chose a man. Mommy chose a man over, the kid and all of this stuff with the stepdad and, just abuse. The second one, mommy issues. He was neglected by his mom, abused. He experienced child abuse by his mom. I remember he told me that he remembered her holding him down in the tub of water. And I can only imagine looking back up at your mama trying to drown you. But I thought because both of us had been through some stuff, see, this what tricked me. I thought that, we were just 2 broken people.
And so a narcissist will mirror you.
Yes, they mirror you.
They will mirror your energy. That's why,
they need your energy.
Yeah, you want to be careful. Just do low power mode. You want to be careful with when you're dating and you're meeting guys, and guys for girls, that you kind of, before you start going into your story and things that you really like or what have you, that you just kind of get to know them, because they'll mirror what you like. If you say you like God, they're hallelujah all the time.
And we'll go to church and sit there.
He loves God.
Knowing they don't want to be there.
Don't want to be there. He's trying to mirror you to make it seem as if you guys were supposed to be together. And once you get into that web of the image that, he presents to you, don't worry about him cutting your friends off. You're going to do it on your own.
That's right. Isolate.
Yeah. So you're going to isolate yourself. And then eventually he's going to make you feel like the isolation is good because you got your best friend. You got your soulmate here. And now you're in a world of trouble and nobody can get to you.
Nope. And it's something, people always say, I was just talking to somebody the other day, just can't understand why they won't leave.
Good question.
And it's the trauma bond. There's a trauma bond that's formed, because in the beginning when the narcissist meets you, he's love bombing, he putting it down every day. Like, you are the best thing since sliced bread. And the same things that he loves you for be the same things that he's going to turn around and devalue you for. Because he walks around with this grandiose persona. It's a facade. His whole life is a facade. And guess what? Women can be narcissists too.
Absolutely.
Women can be narcissists too. And they've gone through childhood trauma. But they don't want to tell nobody. They don't want, and it's hard for men. A lot of men have been sexually abused.
And don't talk about it.
Don't talk about it. They're gay if they talk about it. And those are definitely the ones, like the last one that I had, he was a malignant narcissist. Malice. Malignant comes from the word malice. Just evil. I mean, just, oh my God. And it was in that relationship that I searched for, because he wasn't playing the game. The game that guys play. Yeah, we know the game, but this was not the game. He wasn't playing it right. So I started to search, because I'm like, he not hitting me. And I fooled myself, psyched myself out. I was like, well, at least he not hitting me. I remember psyching myself out saying it. And then it was just got to a point where I'm like, and you can only be around toxicity for so long, and then you look. Now we both growling. So I started to look and try to figure out, what is going on. And I found narcissist. Narcissistic abuse. Spot the narc, save your heart.
I love that. Spot the narc,
save your heart.
And to be honest, even as we talk about domestic violence awareness, and I'm glad that you brought up the narcissistic syndrome, is because a lot of times people are so stuck on this physical piece of DV, and not realizing there's financial, there's mental, there's sexual, there's spiritual, but the narcissistic behavior is already there. And it can go into any of those other categories, but that spirit is already there. And we overlook it, and we don't talk about it enough, how to spot a narcissistic person. And some of us have some narcissistic ways without even being a true narc. But some of us, controlling, you're never right. He's always right. She's always right. There's nothing you could ever do to make that person feel adequate about you. One of the cameras fell. So, I remember going through that with one of my ex-husbands. Yes, I've been married a couple times. Who's judging? Who's counting?
She's an empath. She kept meeting narcissistic men.
That's right.
She kept getting with the narcissist, but nah,
we got it straight now, honey.
Yeah, I ain't married. No. I ain't giving up that last name again until it's right.
But at the end of it, I did not realize that I was in an abusive relationship. Like Yana said, I wasn't being hit all the time. Sometimes I hit back. I'll never forget one time Max's husband said, you better be quiet before I smack you. I said, that'll be the last person you smack. Well, he smacked me and I bust his lip.
Well.
I
I don't advise no woman to ever jump up in a man's face.
It could have been really bad.
You can't,
Yeah.
But we have some young ladies that we need to let them know. You
don't do that.
Don't jump up in a man's face and try to be equal with a man. If he's putting you in positions and you don't like it, just leave.
Yeah, and don't provoke him. Don't be running up to the door trying to stop him from getting out. Let him and his idle threats go. Do not try to engage and get him on your side. The situation is heated. It could go bad really, really quick. Let him go. If y'all supposed to come back later and talk about it later, it'll happen. But don't provoke him to stay and deal with the situation. If he's saying he needs to leave, let him go. But in that situation, I still did not realize that I was in an abusive marriage. It was just a different type. Something I had not experienced before, and I had not known what a narcissist is. All I know was I could never do anything right.
Oh, no.
And I was trying to, be what the person needed me to be, and it still never was good enough. Nope. And then when you come to them to say, this makes me feel this way, or, when you're doing this, that makes me feel that way, I will get, well, what did you do? As if it was a punishment. I'm being punished for whatever I did to cause his behavior. I was the reason for his behavior versus him having self-control over himself and realize he's hurting his spouse, They
don't have any empathy. There's no empathy. And here's the thing about a narcissist. They don't love themselves. And a person, what do they teach us about love? You have to love who first before you can love someone else?
Yourself.
You have to love yourself first before you can love someone else. So if you're dealing with a person that doesn't even love themselves, that you can't expect much from them. I remember looking at my ex one night, and all I saw was the shell of a man. He was empty inside. And when I started listening to these videos and studying the narcissist, and how it worked, like I was checking it off. Like, okay. They'll tell you they love you. They'll tell you anything you want to hear. to get what they want. Most of them don't come with no money. A lot of, some of them do. Don't get the high profile confused. Pastors, politicians, they can easily hide because everybody's looking up to them. They love a serious amount of admiration.
And some can come with money because they could use that as a way to manipulate you.
I had the broke ones. The last one she had some money. I got the broke ones. Cause I don't judge nobody. I'm this good old girl. I don't judge nobody. We can grow together. And the last time my accounts was negative, and we can't do that no more.
No more.
No, we can't do that no more. No, I ain't building no more bears. I never even took my kids to build a bear. I'm not here building real life bears.
No, ma'am.
No, sir. No, sir.
8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. So it's 8 o'clock. We're gonna have breast cancer survivor Beth Sprinkles Goodman join us. She's gonna be dialing into one of these lives in a minute. Beth, if you listen, dial into mine on Keyuna F. Webster, because I think we about to lose Healed by Grace. So I'm gonna give her a second. She gonna request, and I gotta accept it.
So which one is Healed by Grace?
Hey guys, thank you for joining
my
conversation.
iPhone.
We're just
iPhone.
going in and talking about things.
So we definitely want to
affect us.
Give our love to the breast cancer survivors out there.
By grace.
My mother lost her baby sister to breast cancer 2016, I think.
Who's out here? Who's still alive?
So yeah.
Thank you for watching.
I can't see. Bring them on camera. Oh, I think it's. Oh no, that's not her. She's gonna dial in a minute. She should dial in a second, but we'll keep talking until she requests. Okay. There she go. I just sent it. She said I just sent it. I don't know how to.
Hi Sharon. Hi Dexter. Hi Nakia. Hi Aaron. Hi Rhonda.
It didn't show up, Beth.
Edward.
Don't click finish.
Very good conversation.
Hold on.
I'm gonna post it.
She
so
said I
you
just
can
sent it.
Watch the replay, but you can also.
You request to join the live?
Dial in on Keyuna F. Webster site after.
Did you? No, I didn't get it.
And you can continue to hear the conversation if I happen to log on. Is that Instagram? No, that's Facebook.
No, that's Facebook.
All right, y'all.
I'm here.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for staying and watching. So we are talking about domestic violence. We're talking about sexual assault. We're talking about breast cancer, and we are talking about being healed by His grace. I have to sneeze. This sweater is cute, child, but it got a lot of stuff.
Okay, she's saying she sent it. Yes.
Caused me to sneeze.
I need to add you to the live.
So, ooh, I want to sneeze.
Is that one right there?
That's Sharon and I sent
No,
it
that's
in.
the two people.
I'm looking at the two people.
All right, y'all, I'm gonna log off.
Try to join Healed by Grace.
Live life in the amazing.
Join Healed by Grace, Beth.
Because the ordinary.
He says going dead.
It just won't do.
Yeah.
No a narc. What'd you say?
Spot the narc, save your heart.
Spot the narc, save your heart.
They ain't worth your time. That's that Ebonic. They ain't worth your time.
Not they. Dang.
They ain't worth your time.
God bless you.
We gonna keep it 100. Because listen. You can be educated, have all the degrees and all that stuff. I can speak proper English. I can even change my voice. But I like to speak where everybody can understand what's going on and what we're talking about. So I went to writing a post last night and talking about transparent. I'm like, you know what? Let me keep it 100. They understand that. There you go, Beth. I see you. It ain't working on. I think I'm charging. I hope I'm charging. Hi, we have breast cancer survivors.
We are here. Hello, 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 everybody. Hi, wonderful.
Sprinkle, that's Sprinkle. Say hi.
Hey, girl. Let me find out. Hi. Hey. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I love this. This piece.
I know you. This is so you, huh?
This piece. Ooh, we might have to talk after the live. That piece. Ooh, stand up. Let me look at her.
Right.
Let me look at her. Turn around. Ooh.
Thank you, Sheila. If you meet a person, she's her name suits her well.
Okay, so we may have to talk about borrowification for a photo shoot with this. You know, we might have to talk borrowification. Borrowification. Hello.
Hi. Hey, Bev, you got a bad connection. That's what's going on. Hi, Tim, Beth. I think that's Tim. This 2020 leaving me. That is Tim. Tim, that's you. Yeah, it is Tim. I can see you. Hey, Tim, Beth. Did you listen? Her phone went up. Okay, she's coming back in. Let me see what Miss Beth did with this bad connection. Y'all, this virtual stuff, oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. But we trying to still do what we do. Mm-hmm. Educate and empower. Big TVs. I know. That's what I should. Yeah. It's adding. It's not. I don't know. Connecting. There she goes.
Okay, I'm back.
She's back.
I'm back. Okay, see, the enemy thought he was gonna mess that up. You did hear borrowification though, right?
She heard it.
Congratulations to both of you. I cannot begin to tell you how proud I am of both of you. I know your story, Keyuna, and I salute you privately, and now I salute you publicly. Thank you for being so brave. Thank you for stepping into your power. Thank you for being healed by grace, not just healed by grace in and of itself, but being healed by grace, the movement, the empowerment, the sisterhood, because you got it going on, honey bunny.
Listen, my circle is rich right now.
Making
and
it
we ain't
rain.
talking about money.
That's right. That's right.
We ain't talking about money.
That's right.
Money could never make you feel this kind of rich.
I know. Wait a minute. Is that a glitter room?
Oh.
It's a glitter wall.
It's a glitter wall behind me.
And glitter accent everywhere.
So just leave the jacket, shrug, whatever that is, just leave that there, and I'm just going to use that whole little setup for a photo shoot right there. I'm going to use the whole setup.
Come over and do a photo shoot.
Wow.
Here to face this camera. Your phone. Oh, okay, there it is. Okay. But she's not. I can't see her.
See me?
And all these lights flash it out. Yeah. No, I can't see you.
You can or cannot?
I can't.
You cannot? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So hold on. Okay. So here it is. I tried.
Can y'all hear her? Thank you, Miss Sheila. Ask me if she hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can y'all hear her? Yeah. Over here on Keyuna Faye Webster.
No.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Miss Sheila. They can hear you, Miss Bell.
Okay, you
Let's talk about this surviving breast cancer.
yes, surviving breast cancer. So, again, I salute you for bringing attention to two extremely things that are important to women that some endure every day that we have no clue is going on, and that is domestic violence as well as breast cancer awareness, or breast cancer rather. And bringing the attention during the month of October is so essential because there are times that this is the only time that it gets the attention. Sometimes for people that have experienced domestic violence as well as cancer, breast cancer, they are overwhelmed because so much attention is given to it. And it triggers them as survivors to respond differently. And so before I start sharing, I just want to salute those women. I just want to salute those women that if they are having an emotional response because of October and you're seeing pink and purple everywhere, just to be peaceful as they can, because you never know what someone's trigger is. And I just want to salute them and just say, find your peace and be there. If you don't want to get involved with it, don't. Find what's healthy and happy for you, particularly during this time of the world that we are in. And now to breast cancer awareness. So those of you who don't know me, my name is Beth Sprinkles Goodman, and I am a soon-to-be 13-year breast cancer conqueror.
Yes.
I have been breast health conscious since the 11th grade. That's right, the 11th grade. I found my first lump in my right breast, of which it was benign.
Oh, wow.
And yes, I've been breast health conscious since 11th grade. The lump that was found in my right breast was benign, and benign simply means that it was non-cancerous. And then in 2000, 2002, and 2004, I had lumpectomy on my left breast. And in those years, the cysts were benign as well. However, in 2007, we discovered a lump that was found to be cancer. When I first went in to the doctor's office to receive the diagnosis, he said, "Hey, Ms. Goodman," and he's been my breast health surgeon and breast doctor for several years, and he wasn't as jovial as he normally was. And I was like, okay. And this is a new room that I had come to, had never been there before. And he says, "You have DCIS and ductal carcinoma in situ." And I said, "What is that? And is it on sale?" And at the time, my husband nudged me and was like, get serious, because Dr. Shock was his name, Dr. Shock. We are so accustomed to coming in and having fun and talking about the girls and, that sort of thing. And he was very serious. And I said, "What is that? And is it on sale?" And so he kind of, laughed a little bit. And my husband says, "Get serious." He said, "You have breast cancer." And immediately I said, "I will live and not die." He said, "You're not going to
All
die, you
right.
live." I said, "I'm living and not dying." He said, "You're not going anywhere." And I said, "I just needed for us to be on the same page, because as a woman of faith, how can two walk together unless they agree?" So it was at that point that walking in agreement with my breast surgeon was the best place to be. And he began to share and show what the potential options were. And he said, "Well, you'll have to undergo a mastectomy." And I was like, "I'm good with that. I'm so good with that." And he said, his response kind of was like, "I just shared with you that you were having a mastectomy." And I said, "I'm good with that." My next response was, "I would rather be alive with one than dead with two." And he said, "Well, there we go, there we go." And he began to explain the procedure. And the procedure was called a tram flap, where they remove the fat from your stomach and they put it here to reconstruct and build the breast with a small implant. And I said, "Wait a minute, you're taking fat from my stomach and you're putting it up here." And of course, jokingly, I said, "Wait a minute, am I getting a boob job and a tummy tuck?" And
Oh, girl.
again, he snickered.
Oh, yeah.
he he
You got to select
snickered.
one.
Absolutely. And he snickered and, tried to maintain his doctor composure. But he was going with me because in that moment, I was choosing to allow humor to be my medicine and humor to be my strength. And sometimes when I share that story, there are survivors that become offended. And I simply say to them, we all have our story. And when it's your time to tell it, you can tell yours, and this is mine. And humor and fun was a vital part of my survivorship. And so then he goes on to say, yes, that's what we're going to do. So it ended up being that when he went to do the procedure, and he says, well, you don't really have enough fat down there. And I was like, do you see this? And of course, I grabbed my stomach and, do you see this? And he's like, that's skin. That's not fat. So that's when they put the fat from my stomach and a small implant to make my girls symmetrically balanced. And that's something that so many women don't realize, that as a breast cancer survivor, you have options. You have options, and you have the ability to close the loop on breast cancer. You have the opportunity to say to your breast health team, this is what I want. If you are not satisfied, stand and be your own voice and your own advocate. So we underwent the mastectomy and then led into reconstruction and chemo. And chemo was very interesting because at the time my boys were 4 and 11. And you have a 4-year-old that doesn't really understand what's going on. You have an 11-year-old that has the small concept of what cancer is. But you hear cancer, and immediately the first things that people think are death. Right. So I had to explain to the boys. They were part of the journey from day one. Nothing was ever hidden from them. And so as treatment began to come and going to chemo, my hair began to shed. And unbeknownst to me, my oldest son had been going around the house. Ooh, maybe I feel the choke up. Ooh, I hadn't told that part of the story in a minute. Ooh. Look, my oldest son had been going around the house picking up my hair. He'd been going around the house picking up my hair and putting it in a big Ziploc bag that said Mom's chemo hair. And so as the chemo started working, I knew the hair was going to come out and I didn't want them to be afraid. So I went and decided to get my hair cut short in like a little Halle Berry something or another back then. And as my stylist was shampooing the hair, it locked up, and literally her hand, she had to cut her hands out of my hair. And she said, it's happening. She said, it's happening. And I said, Yaka, what do you mean? What is happening? She said, it's happening. And I was like, okay, tell me what's happening. She said, the hair is coming out. And I was like, okay, I'm good. Because what I had been doing is practicing in the mirror what I would look like.
With no hair?
With a bald head. And so I was able to begin embracing that, as opposed to saying, oh, my hair, my hair. And at the time, my sister was coming by to spend the day, and we had to run around the house looking for pieces of weave in the shop and glue to put on the top of my hair, because I had a George Jefferson. All of the hair in the center had come out, and I had me a nice George Jefferson on the back, and she fixed it up really nicely to the point where my sister didn't know. And everyone that was sitting in the shop was like, what's she going to say? What's going to happen? We shared it with her. We went on. After undergoing going to chemo, I called it the Oprah show. And that is the Beth plus Oprah show. I would go to every single chemotherapy session dressed in a Fortune 500 suit with pearls and a big pink clapper, getting off the elevator, said, sprinkles is here, sprinkles is here. Because I'm a firm believer in creating the atmosphere for yourself. And when you go into that chemo room, it's so solemn and people are sad. And I just had to create the energy that I was going to live and not die. And that's what I did. I would go through every chair and speak to every person. Good morning. Good to see you. Good to see you. No, it's good to see you. Yes, it's good for all of us to be seen. So to the point, and unbeknownst to me, that there is one of the gentlemen who had actually changed his chemotherapy sessions to coincide when I was there. And when the nurses shared that with me, I said, "Are you serious?" And he said, "Yeah, Mr." Well, I can't say his name, HIPAA. Mr. So-and-so has changed his chemotherapy session so that he can be here when you're here because you give him so much life. And I just was like, wow. So here it is. We're both fighting. I'm simply creating a space to live. And when I say creating the space to live, creating the space to live cancer-free, creating the space not to be fearful, and it's giving somebody else hope during the fight. And so many people, while they're fighting, they are bringing so much hope to others because others see them fighting. Even I remember even when I decided not to wear wigs. We do a lot of things with our hair. And I was at church, and one lady's walked up to me. She said, "Oh my God, I love what you've done with your hair. What made you go so extreme?" Because, one days we'll be blonde, one day we'll be brown, one day we'll have braids, one day it'll be ponytail, and then one day it was gone. And she said, "Well, what made you go so extreme?" And I said, "Well, chemotherapy." And she said, "What?" And I said, "Chemotherapy." And she immediately broke down crying. And I said, hey, wait. There's no need to cry. There's no